Yeah. In fact, it's a very good question. The attitude of towards death in Laozi and Zhuangzi. I would say basically they think it's a natural process. So don't need to be too emotional about the fact of death. And like we already have one passage, I think last time, I think in 11 or no, it's maybe in 10. Okay. I think, sorry, I think I can't find it, but we kind of like have one passage say if somebody wants to extend his life longer as it should be, or it's naturally the case, and then that will be a very bad case, or that will be very bad or something like that.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
he actually shortens his life by trying to extend it.
Oh, yes.
I remember.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I want to refer to. And in this case, I think Fritz was 80 years old, right? Also a natural, kind of like a natural death already. Yeah. Let's go to passage 12. Somebody will read it loud.
Yeah, I can read the Wu translation. The 5 colors dazzle one's eyes. The 5 sounds deafen one's ears. The 5 flavors numb one's palate. Galloping and hunting turn one's mind loose. Goods hard to come by turn one's conduct awry. That is why the sage focuses on the belly, not the eye. Hence he disregards the latter and adopts the former.
Any comments?
Yeah, I mean, it seems to me like the central problem is how we interpret Fu here, the belly, and I mean also the eyes. Yeah, this is obviously the organizing opposition in the passage. And there's of course this is mostly what the commentary tradition seems to focus on is how to define the difference between the belly and the eye.
So basically, you say like 5 colors and 5 sounds, 5 flavors are eyes, right? Something like that. But like the formless, the colorless, the soundless, the flavorless are more like the belly, right? Then and so on and so forth. So one come to the belly could be like a simplified life somehow, content life. I don't know, maybe just like for personal purpose, like what's the guy in the Greek word who lives in a in a corner?
I think Diogenes, is that
Yeah,
right?
Diogenes. Yeah, and for us, for a city or for a society, it's like the Republic passage, right? Uh, a society with only basic needs.
Mm-hmm. The city of swine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess that's just, yeah. I mean, it's sort of prima facie surprising to hear that the sage focuses on the belly just because one associates like gluttony with the belly um, and excess. And it's also funny because, yeah, you have to think of whatever the eye is standing for or symbolizing here, the eyes, it has to somehow encompass the colors, sounds, and flavors, um, which is surprising, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
uh,
exactly.
yeah. But I hadn't thought about it that the belly, then, if it's in opposition to everything above, it's the colorless, soundless, flavorless. That would line up with 14, the beginning of 14. But we'll get to that.
Mm. So I read some maybe just here, right? Say the eye is a problem, or the eye is the source of excessive desire,
Mm.
which is really very opposite of the Greek culture, right? Because for them, the beauty, especially like sculpture or something like this, like something um, to do with the eye, and in the Timaeus, Plato also says that the sight is the most important one because then you can observe the orbits of the stars, right? And get to know um, reason and mathematics and astronomy. And and also somebody says, but at the same time, um, the desire of the eyes or eyes or sight is the most difficult one to fulfill, say, to steal, not
Yeah,
to,
yeah,
yeah,
still.
um,
Mm.
I think the commentary of that text also has an interesting point that the belly is not only the place where the food goes, but we also have this the dantian there, the place where chi or vital energy is stored and cultivated and stuff.
mm,
So if the focus is more on the inside, on the belly, the outside doesn't get that much of importance because the inside matters more.
mm. For me, this interpretation is very plausible, but the problem is like for me, and also I think Skylar and Aiden, we don't practice meditation or practice qigong, then does
Yeah, for
not,
me, that's
yeah,
completely
plausible,
logical.
right? Yes,
Yeah.
I can understand. So after this meditation, you really find like a beautiful clothes or something like so, maybe not so important anymore, right? Maybe I don't know. Or
Not really, but most of those meditations, also the stuff I did with my teacher especially, or I still do, focuses having a warm belly and nurturing the whole body and stuff. So and usually if you are talking about something basic as food, it's not about having the most luxurious stuff, the most exotic things, but it's more like basic stuff with the focus on nurturing the chi, because that's our life force and we have to protect it. And it's yeah, if there's no energy flow within the body, it's gone. So that's why.
So basically, you
It's
how
not that the outside doesn't become completely unimportant, but the more you focus on the belly, on the inside, the less focus is on the outside. So if you're concentrating on the inside, trying to keep the belly warm and focus on the cultivation part of it, getting that energy center even stronger, circulating chi within the body and stuff, the outside doesn't become as unimportant. That doesn't mean beautiful stuff doesn't get appreciated, but it's not that important anymore.
So how would you interpret mu here, the eyes?
I mean, eyes can look outside, but they can also look inside.
So you just mean then
You can,
to look outside, right? Mu, the eye here.
yeah,
It's the eye.
because with stuff that I'm doing, we also like go in on the inside, check how are the inner organs feeling, or even go to, if you do some higher practices, even go to the universe or whatever coming up. There might be pictures, but it's not enforced. So you focus more on the inside, even with your eyes, even with every sense you're having, you're focusing on the inside, on what's happening within you, and not so much about oh, there are birds singing, oh, there's a car driving by, or whatever. You're more on the inside, and you don't even recognize sometimes how much time is passing, and if you have a body at all or whatever, you're just in a focus level, especially if you do things like this in a group.
So then the last sentence would be, hence he disregards the latter and adopts the former, would be, so focus disregards the outwardness and adopts the inwardness, focusing more inside but forget the outside, right?
Yeah, maybe not 100% forget, but yeah.
Okay.
During meditation could be close to 100%, but not in normal life. Otherwise, it's not working.
Okay. So any comments to this?
I think I find the interior-exterior distinction helpful, and it's also something that some of the commentators in the Chen Guiying mention. And it kind of reminds me of in the Meng Tzu, right? There was also this concern with the interior and the exterior, and like where to draw the line between them. There's the question of whether like benevolence was something interior or exterior, right? And I'm wondering, and that, if I remember correctly, I don't know Confucius very well, but the interior exterior debate comes from like an ambiguity in Confucius, right? Or I guess I'm just wondering if Lao Tzu is here sort of like subtly picking up this Confucian distinction. I don't know, that was sort of rambly, but I guess it's just to say that understanding belly and eye as interior and exterior makes sense to me. And yeah, I think Katya's point is well taken.
But also keep in mind that there's no fixed border between inside and outside. even on the day-to-day basis, on the normal life, you might feel a difference between inside your body and outside the body. But especially during the deep meditations, that border is gone. There's no inside and outside.
Mm.
So there's just oneness, which makes it a bit weird to explain for people who have never had that experience before.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Chen Guyin, like mentioned, the passage Skylar just mentioned, said like this. In fact, he cited another scholar, whose name is Lin Yutang, say the belly is means the inner self, the I means the outer self, or the sensation world. So that's maybe the passage you mentioned, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. And Katya's point was very important, I think. Laozi's sentence, you cannot really take it literally, right? He says A, and at the same time, you must also think that not A. So he thinks, okay, therefore he disregards the latter and adopts the former, and then you need to bear in mind that he means at the same time not disregard the latter completely and adopt the former 100%. So is that
No,
what he mean? Yeah.
it's usually never about 100% black and white. It's mostly finding the right gray, the middle.
The middle. The middle I will be too much here, I think, but
Yeah,
but I know what you mean. I think dialectic this like simple dialectic
yeah.
relation is important for Laozi, I think.
Hmm.
And but I have some very simple questions. So if the five sounds different one's ears, so like it's definitely saying something about music, right? So what should we do? We no music or some simple music, like one tone last for 1 hour. Or here he means just like then do not hear any sound, but hear your breath or some natural sound like the birds in the forest or something like that. So how can we understand this? So what kind of sound in the end should be the better,
Mm.
right?
I mean, the all the numbers 5 and stuff, they have like with the flavors and so on, they remind me of the 5 element theory thingies.
Mm,
And for the colors, the flavors, there's also organs that are correspondent to the 5 elements. And
mm,
also every organ has a sound in some Qigong systems
mm,
to
mm,
regulate and to put, like for the heart, excess heat out, or
mm,
for the liver, excess anger and moisture
yeah.
and stuff.
So
So
I think
I don't know
as
if that's the thing. I don't know. It's just the 5,
yeah,
you know.
yeah, exactly. I think you focus on the interpretation of the five, and you are right. So the five have a significant meaning in the old Chinese, the cosmology. In this way, like they are amazed or like impressed by this coincidence, like pentatonic here means just basically. And like you said, five inner organs, five colors here, and five flavors. So That's definitely one stuff, and usually they also interpret this five as many. Just so he has a lot of sounds, different one's ears. But my question is rather, so which kind of sounds should we listen to then, right? Just that's my question, in fact. Rather a little bit special, yeah.
Yeah, maybe it depends. It doesn't mean no music, no sound at all, I guess. But it's like, is it more as a distraction of your mind, the way we are using the sound? Like some people always have music in the background or on the modern times talking. So maybe to keep it also simple there, and I don't know. It's also not for me. I need always some music.
Yeah, like in Plato, he answers something like this in the Laws. I think also in the Republic, he says we should have some of kind of like modi, which means just kind of like music modes. And you don't need the very complicated instrument he called flute. Maybe that one you can like play very virtuously, just like maybe today piano or something like that. So some rather simple music.
So not Bach.
Bach is Bach. I
I'm
think.
just joking, Kai. I'm just joking.
Bach, maybe Laozi would say Bach is great because Bach, though he is very technically difficult, but his message is rather simple. Or I
Yes,
think that goes very well with Laozi's philosophy somehow.
it was more kind of a joke.
Yeah, I know, but my question was really serious.
It's no joking matter.
I mean, you can use sounds for meditations. Like many monks are using some kind of bells or similar stuff as an way to keep focus also. But also sounds can be distracting. So it's like, I remember I went to a big DAO seminar in Hamburg. It was close to the harbor. And one time during a very, very silent meditation, one of the big cruise ships decided to go on their journey, and they make a lot of noise.
Yeah.
I think
So
what
we were
your
right awake.
answer to my question is you should not listen to music if you are doing some meditation.
Yeah, it depends on the music, of course, and what you want to achieve.
Yeah. Aiden,
It always
you are
depends what you want to do with the meditation, because there's not only one style. It depends what you want to achieve.
Aiden, you are silent today. You have any point?
Yeah, I was just wondering, like, if we want to read this as an advice against excess as well, because I think that would
Yeah.
cohere with the belly as well, because the belly is like you have a great appetite, but once the appetite is fulfilled, then you don't want any more, and you can't keep stuffing yourself. And it feels like a lot of the things that the examples that he uses here is like the five colors dazzles you, the eye, deafens or numbs. So it's like too much of it makes the sensory organ somehow not able to perform its function anymore. And there's this like sense of like excess here. So you don't want everything at once. And even like galloping and hunting are like luxuries or like goods that are hard to come by.
So basically, you interpret 5 colors like or 5 sounds like too many sounds and too many colors, right?
Yeah.
And then here, I think that's definitely right. I would say if this, in this context, I would say, but at the same time, like 5 sounds there's already like all sounds or every sounds, it's just like a general basically you can say except those 5 sounds you don't have music anymore, so that uh, uh, he kind of like, at least to my understanding, not only critique excess but critique normal or every sound sensation sports and also value system, right? Later on, I think that goods hard to come by, that's something like value system, or at least like material value system.
Like commodity. Sorry, go ahead.
Are you saying that he's critiquing, so like instead of just all colors at once, he's critiquing every single color? Because if that were the case, then why is the like bad thing that you become blind or that you become deaf? Because then wouldn't that be a positive thing?
Yeah, that's also true. Yeah. So, okay, I think then in this case, your interpretation makes more sense. So here just too many, right? 5, just, not every.
No, everything is not possible because there are colors everywhere in nature.
It's true.
Especially this time of the year. And I think it's the part about the excess. If it's too much, then it's and also with the not the nature things, but stuff people wants to acquire. So too much of a
That, I think this one definitely not wrong. But then also then quite normal, right? The message then would be.
Yeah, I think I understand your desire to read it more radically, especially given that 14 is going to give us something quite radical about the invisible and everything. But I just textually find it hard to understand it as anything but just this kind of conventional, like too much, like excessively flavorful food will ruin your palate. I mean, that's something we still believe today, I think.
Yeah, especially the Germans.
Yeah. The true followers of Laozi.
Laozi should move to Germany.
Yeah. All right, should we move on to we spent a lot of time with this passage.
Yeah. And this 13th was very difficult, right? Someone read it loud.
I can read it. Favor is as alarming as disfavor. Caring about disaster is like caring about oneself. Why say favor is as alarming as disfavor? Favor is no good. Gaining it is alarming. Losing it is alarming. Hence, favor is as alarming as disfavor. Why say caring about disaster is like caring about oneself? The reason why I have disaster is because I have a self. If I don't have a self, what disaster do I have? Therefore, if you care about yourself for the sake of the world, you may be charged with the world. If you love yourself for the sake of the world, you may be entrusted with the world.
Maybe I want to start with a few sentences here only. I think this passage has a very clear structure. So it has two theses, right? Favor is alarming as disfavor, and caring about disaster is like caring about oneself is too. And then Laozi goes interesting, quite conventionally, argue for those 2 points separately, right? And then coming to a conclusion, but very special conclusion as kind of like some political application of those two points, kind of like that. This is argumentation of this passage I read, I understand. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Seems right to me.
Okay. So this passage is then quite like exemplar, how to say that, like a good example of kind of like argumentation, clear structure. Any comments, questions for this passage? And for me, is so then I will begin about the passage. Why say caring about disasters like caring about oneself? So there, I think, according to my what I have read, is two coherent but opposite interpretation. So once then you should value your own body, and that's also make therefore, because you should care about your body, and you should avoid disaster, and you should like take them both seriously, your body and the disaster. And the other one is the other interpretations. So you can forget your body. You don't pay any value, put any value on your body, and then you also don't need to bother about any kind of like disasters or accident or outer disturbance, which is basically a Buddhistic understanding. So both of them are coherent here. So then what my question is, what do you think here is, what should the attitude against your body? Do I make myself clear? I think it's, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that's the central question I have for this passage. How to understand this as which like extreme positions, not really different position.
I mean, I think if we read just the second and third passage, especially the second, it seems like the interpretation that says that you shouldn't care about yourself is more apt, because like the favor and disfavor thing, there's no reason to sort of like care about disfavor. Whereas if we take in the third passage into account, then there is a reason to care about disaster. But if we just read these second and third passages in isolation, then it would seem to say like, if you don't care about yourself, then you don't suffer any disaster. And I feel like that's what the interesting conclusion comes in, because then it then turns this thing on its head and says that, well, you sort of have to care about disaster because that's caring about the world.
Ah,
So I feel like ultimately the point should still be on the caring about yourself and caring about disaster thing.
yeah. But the other, I agree. But you already you just like say what I mean here. So this direction can be coherent in this interpretation, I think, and the other interpretations. So maybe usually the say the rulers just only caring about their body or their own private interest. So they forgot, or they put the interest of the state, say, behind. So in the end, then this goes on, and then it's a huge disaster for the country. And therefore, a good ruler should not care too much about his body or his own interest. Yes, you can say so both way. This is exactly what I mean. Two ways are coherent. In this can be interpreted in a way.
But I think the conclusion also sort of like sets the limit for this sort of, like, it says that you have to care about yourself for the sake of the world. So it's like, it's not that you care about yourself and that you care about disaster, but that you care about yourself only because you care about the state of the world first. So that one should still come first. But then at the end of the day, you still have to care about yourself, but only to the extent that you care about the world or something like that.
I think this also promotes kind of a middle way. If I only care for myself, I might worry too much or focus too much on myself and disregard everybody else and create disasters that way. And if I don't have a self and don't care at all what happens, because that way, if I don't care, there's no disaster, but it also means gives like a kind of heartless feeling. This is also one extreme. So I think the middle way is I still care for the world and I have to care for myself so that I can help the world. So it's like a middle way that he's promoting here as well.
Any other thoughts?
I guess I don't really know how to pursue the question of which interpretation makes more sense, the sort of like more Buddhistic interpretation or the more like moderate sort of like political interpretation. But maybe it would help to pursue that question to ask, like, what is the relationship between these 2 points that are being made? This favor is as alarming as disfavor, and caring about disasters like caring about oneself. Because yeah, I don't know, it's not immediately obvious to me, and it seems like the brunt of the favor is as alarming as disfavor is like, okay, just don't be concerned about either, sort of like, yeah, give up on that. And then that makes me want to read the passage about the self as like, okay, then don't care about disaster, if it's parallel, but
Yes, but the parallel seems to be, the first is don't care about favor and disfavor. The second is you should care but both yourself and the disaster, right? So it's
Yeah.
you say you see these they are not structurally parallel, right? It's just kind of like a contrast somehow, or I don't know.
Yeah.
So why put this to thesis right here, or not only points, but here's because we have argument later on, maybe to these two theses together.
Yeah.
I also wondered about that, Skylar, as I read it.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
confusing.
Yeah.
I mean, another sort of question about the two different points is that they seem like they're addressed to different groups. Like the favor and disfavor point seems like that's addressed to civil servants or something, people who would be in the position of potentially receiving favor from a ruler. And then the disaster stuff and the caring about yourself and being entrusted with the world and everything, that sounds like that's directed towards a potential ruler, right? I mean, that's an open question. Right?
But I don't know why that we necessarily have to include the third one and the fourth one together, because I feel like the rhetorical strategy in the third passage is exactly the same as the second one, where it says the last two lines, if I don't have a self, what disaster do I have? So like the implication is obviously that don't care about both. So I feel like the second and third go together. It's just that the fourth transforms the whole argument of both.
We transform of the third argument. Can you do what?
It transforms the whole argument that comes before. So it transforms how we should read both the second and third passage. Because if the third passage and the fourth passage were to be like a natural fit, then the last two lines of the third passage don't really seem to make sense.
So in this reading, is the fourth passage a solution to a problem presented in the second and third? So like the second and the third just present a sort of dilemma or an aporia, and then the fourth is saying, okay, the way through this is to care about yourself for the sake of the world, or in a different translation, like to care about yourself as the world.
I don't even know if it's, sorry.
No, go ahead. I was just going to keep rambling.
Yeah, I don't even know if it's like it presents an aporia or it solves a problem in the second and third passages, because I feel like the second and third one is just a representation of like a conventional sort of wisdom, or like a sort of like stoic kind of approach to things. Don't care about them. And what the fourth one does is that it flips this argument. It shows that there's another side to the whole thing. Like, I don't feel like it solves any problem. It's just that it just transforms the whole point of it.
Like, are you taking the fourth passage then as a descriptive thing rather than like a normative thing? Like, it's just saying this is how it goes in the political realm. Like, if you care about yourself for the sake of the world, it just might happen that you'll be charged with the world.
Well,
Rather
the
than
way I
saying
read
that
it was still normative. Like, it's saying that you should care about yourself and for the sake of the world to be charged with the world. Like, I feel like that it's saying that that's a good thing.
Okay. Yeah.
And so the fourth passage has basically only to do with the second thesis, right? Does not have so too much to do with the first thesis. Is that right?
I mean, I feel like it should. But the relation between it is not as obvious as it has to do with the second thesis. But I feel like if it changes the second thesis, it should also change the first thesis. Where then, in some sense, I don't know if we can sort of relate this to like the Confucian concept of shame, where shame is really important for them. So in some sense, maybe that's why also you should care about disfavor. But yeah, I agree that the relation there is not as clear as with the second thesis.
And I read the rather modern interpretation of the text. First, this is emphasize on the personal independence.
Sorry, what and personal independence?
Emphasis.
Oh, emphasize.
Emphasis of personal independence. Don't know in how far that goes along well with Laozi or whole. Because the idea I would say is rather modern. So basically, if you get favor, then it's just how to say that demonstration of a hierarchy, right? In power, so that which means you just how to say that untergesetzt.
Yeah, subjected.
Subjective, yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense to me for the second passage. This idea that like being favored is a form of inferiority. This like Xia character. But it's a little bit less clear with the disaster thing. Like, do you want, is that, it's just a little confusing. Like the aim is personal independence from disaster, and but then you have to, you know, give up a self or something, and then you have personal independence, okay, but no self. I don't know. Does the concern or the confusion make sense?
Yeah, I think so.
Just a random thought. So, what about if we translate the word self with ego? Because the ego loves to create stories and disasters. So, because I have an ego, I have disasters, problems, troubles. If I don't have an ego, there's no disaster.
Oh, I think that's you can translate that way. Like ego is just like myself, right? Or I. So that's
Yeah.
only the Greek word or the Latin. I think Latin was a word for I. I'm or myself. And then here the thesis would be then do not value yourself, but like basically Buddhistic, like we already read the Diamond Sutra. You know, and that's my first question. So if you translate that in that way and understand it that way, so then it goes like you should forget yourself. There's no self, and then you have no trouble anymore.
But the Chinese word here is "shen." Does that allow for this translation? Because it feels like the emphasis then is more on like the body here.
Yes, but 自身 自身 then is yourself or something like that. Itself something. So also have some. It's not how to. It's not impossible to do that way. But if you translate it to body and soul problem in Western, that would be a little bit problematic. But ego, I would say, seems for me to me in this context a possibility. Yeah. Any further questions, comments? Then we go to 14th, right? Also very important passage, interesting. Who would like to read it?
I can read it again. That which one can look at but not see is called Yi. Is it Yi?
Yeah.
Wait. Oh, Yi. And that which one can listen to but cannot hear is called Si. That which one can grapple for but not grasp is called Wei. These three defy close inquiry, and are therefore lumped together as one. Its top is not bright, its bottom is not dark. Lush and lasting but unnameable, it returns to a state of nothingness. This is called form without form, an image of nothingness. Known as evasive, from the front you don't see its head, from the back you don't see its rear. Applying the Tao of ancient times to harness the things of today enables us to understand the ancient beginnings. That is called the lineage of Tao.
My first comment is, it reminds me strongly of Aperon.
Of what?
Skylar, can you explain a little bit what is Aperon? Aperon?
Aperon, like the boundless, the limitless.
Yes, that's of who's that? Philosopher, a Greek philosopher
Oh,
who
it's Greek stuff. Okay, I'm out.
Is it? I don't
Sorry.
know. Is it Anaxagoras? Is he
I've
the Aperon guy?
I have a look at, yes, that's Aperon guy. Who's that guy? I think he's, wait for a minute. Aperon. Yeah. Aperon, who's that Aperon guy? Anaximander.
What? I never heard this word before. Sorry.
It's a name.
Okay.
Anaximanders.
But why does it remind you of Anaximander and the Aperon?
Just like you can say, those passages, right? The top is not bright, the bottom is not dark. Like it's called form without form, or especially from the front you don't see its head, from the back you don't see its rear. It's basically boundless, right? And kind of like, I don't know. Later on he would quote them like, it's about Tao, right? But they definitely it's like you cannot define it, just like chaos or something like that. Everywhere, like here and there, but it's just have no definite shape or something like that. It's just, anyway. If you don't find it plausible, then drop it. Let's just drop it.
No, it makes sense. It makes sense, but it does not help me understand this passage.
It reminds me a little bit of what we had before. I think it's in the like in the first thing when we had like no the second one beginning when they had when there was kind of a definition of the Tao, because we can't
Chapter
really
1.
see it, we can't really hear it, we can't really grasp it, right? but it's still there. So we can't really, with all our senses, we can't really sense it, but we know there is something. We can feel it maybe in an indirect way. I don't know, something like this. So this seems like, for me, like a different way of describing the Tao again.
Sure, that's one for sure. Yes, about the Tao, yeah. But I don't know the passage you means. I think you just mean the first passage.
The first or the
Chapter 1.
second. Yeah.
Mm.
Something from the beginning, yeah.
Yeah.
In chapter 1.
Yeah, I was also, is this the first passage where yeah, I think it's the first one where it said that taken as, oh, I'm gonna butcher it. I actually just have to look at the first passage so I don't butcher it. Right, yeah. If you have desire, you see the border, and if you're without desire, you see the deep mystery. Yeah, it seemed like this was sort of approaching that, but doing something different, because it seems like there's only the deep mystery in this passage. There's no border. There's like, or I guess what I'm trying to say is, it seems like it's trying to describe the Tao in a certain aspect, or under a certain aspect, rather than like the beginning, which seemed like it was more comfortable talking about, the profundity versus the boundary or the exterior or something. Does that make any sense?
What you're saying reminds me of, in fact, dusting and this.
Yeah, I mean, this seems a little bit like a thing in itself, where it's just kind of ineffable. You can't describe it.
But it also, I mean, that was just the first part, but also the second part also goes with that, because unnameable nothingness, it's a form without a form. Even if you stand right in front of it, you can't see it, and if you look back, you can't also see it or sense it or whatever. So it's still kind of a descriptive way of trying to grasp it.
Yeah.
Sorry, Scarlett, which passage were you referring to with this desire thing?
Just the very first one. The very first chapter.
For our Wu's translations like this, thus through eternal non-being one observes its mystery, through eternal being one observes its manifestations.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh yeah, sorry. I was looking at the C text translation. Sorry for the confusion. Yeah. Yeah, thank you, Katya, for drawing attention to the second part. I'm especially focusing on this. It cannot be named, because this also goes back to the first passage. This, yeah. The difference between the Tao that can be named and the Tao that cannot be named, or rather the name that can be named, the name that cannot be named.
And but I think from like literally, it's a little bit easier to understand the first three passages, right? I think they have a like organic structure, right? And they are about one kind of like one subject, which is basically some properties of Dao, right? Can I say that?
Yeah.
It's just a description of Dao. What are they like?
Looks like it.
Yeah. But then, how about the first passage? For me, it's like it comes from nowhere.
Which passage do you mean? The first three lines?
The fourth, applying the
fourth.
Tao of ancient times to harness the things of today enables us to understand the ancient beginnings. That's called the lineage of Tao. So interestingly, he says, apply, in fact, 执古之道 means if I would translate it, I would say, grab, 执, right? 执, right? 执 means grab or hold. Hold the Tao of the ancient times. So how can you hold something which described a little bit above, right? Which have no form, no name, no boundaries, no Ausdehnung. I don't know. There must be Ausdehnung, but no boundaries.
Yeah. But what about the Tao also has a kind of a timeless quality. So there was, in ancient times, there was always a Tao. There's a Tao now, today, and there will be a Tao in the future. So there's a kind of lineage going on. Even time is not really relevant in the Tao because we can disable time without problem.
Very, very interesting thought. So you basically say the Tao today is the ancient Tao, and then
Time is really meaningless in the Tao as I experienced it. And there was always a Tao, there's a Tao now, and there will always be a Tao. But time is not of an essential thing, but for us as a normal person, there's a kind of linear. Time is somewhat linear, but in the Tao, time is not really a thing. So Tao is always there. It was, it will be, and it's now. It was, it is now, and it will be.
that's,
And it
I
will
think
be always the same Tao.
that what you say is already in chapter 6 and 7. Like
Okay, I forgot that.
continuous, it seems to last,
Yeah.
useful but never overworked. And in chapter 7, heavens lives long and earth is everlasting, right?
Yeah.
And so on and so forth. So basically, I think he also thinks the Tao is really everlasting, kind of like or last very long. But here, in chapter 14, the dichotomy is ancient and that of today is explicit there, you know. It's not like timeless or something like that. Here, Laozi emphasizes the differences between the past and the present. And he kind of like say, for me, just like if you understand the history, and then you will know how to deal with the problem right now or something like that.
Sure, it does. Also, if you know the history of a place, you know where it's coming from, you can understand the today. Sure. Especially in a 3D world, DAO is a bit more than 3D. More
Yeah, but I
dimensional.
think
More dimensional.
sorry, but I mean that what makes the interpretation more complicated is that the Tao is supposed to be something not graspable, like Kaiser was saying earlier, that if you can't really grasp the Tao, how can it, so it can't be the sort of like usual historical knowledge that we have, like something happened in the past, what will happen in the future, how does that affect the future? Because if you can't even grasp the Tao, how are you supposed to have that kind of, knowledge?
That's exactly the first three passages seems to be saying, right?
I mean, if you see time as linear, you can put it that way, but I think for me the Tao doesn't have a linear time. You can jump in time and do crazy stuff with that. Yeah. Just some flashbacks. Not talking too much about it. So basically, for me, for the Tao, there's no linear time. It's always the same. It will be the same, and also my computer just switched off. By the way, the screen. It's just funny. So Tao doesn't really have the quality of a linear time frame. It just is.
Katya,
Yeah.
usually you want to make such claims, you need some textual evidence
I
in
can't give you
Laozi,
any detail. It's just after 20 years, and I trust that Tao implicitly, deeply. I know time is not of relevance. Yeah. I'm sorry. I can't explain it. I just know it is.
And here, like especially the translation of Charles, right? That is called the lineage of Tao, He, according to this translation, Laozi seems to say something quite the opposite of what you just said.
How so? The opposite?
Because he kind of like say the lineage of Tao, and what Katya just said is Tao does not have a linear
Just
existence
time.
of time, right?
But it doesn't mean there's not a lineage. It's time isn't linear, but if you really focus on the Tao, you can feel everything, the past and the future and everything. Yeah, it's all there already. We just have to.
Multi-dimensional. And
It is
also,
yes, yes, multi-dimensional, not 3D, which makes it a bit harder for us with our normal standard. In the normal world, most of us have a 3D brain, but Tao doesn't work in 3D. Sorry. I can't really explain it. I can just feel it. I can't explain it.
Yeah, I mean that seems appropriate when discussing a passage about like something that can't be inquired into and can't be made subject of description and stuff like this. Yeah, I don't know. I like a lot of lines in this chapter. They sound really, really nice, like an image of nothingness, or in a different translation, the semblance of the invisible. But I don't know what to do with it as a whole. I find it mysterious.
That's also exactly what Katya is saying.
Yeah. I guess we're in the same boat.
I mean, for me, the Tao is not really just a philosophical concept. I can feel it. I trust it. I can, for me, that's there because I got too many experiences already directly linked to the Tao, which, after, over 20 years, just dealing with it, it doesn't get a form. I can't grasp it. I can't name it. I can't really describe it, as you already noticed, but I know it's there. And I trusted, and I even proved that yeah, you can trust things like the trust. So for me, that's I think if you just want to grasp it as a philosophical context test without having real life examples, any kind of experiences, any kind of flavor or taste, that makes it even harder.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. That seems like an important distinction between like my ignorance of this passage, which is not based on, like you say, 20 years of meditation, and your difficulty to put into words what you have experienced. Those are two very different states, of course.
Yeah.
With the same result that neither of us can describe what's going on.
I'm sorry, I don't have the words, and I mean, at the beginning it was also like what is that guy talking about? It's just like, huh? And after a while, somehow you have some experiences, and their little bit and their little bit, just tiny little things, and you start to put them not on the surface, but in the subconscious. They start to connect more and more and more. And in the normal 3D world, in the normal basic world, I'm not completely connected. But the more I dive deeper, and the more I talk about it, or even trying to explain things to you, the deeper I feel the connection, but I can't give it to you, basically.
Yeah. I mean, I wonder if someone like Wittgenstein would say that there's like a grammatical thing going on, that like an experience of the Tao has to be first personal, and so any attempt to sort of like describe it in the third person or give it to someone else, like you're saying, is kind of doomed to failure.
I mean, if you have a real master, I'm not a master. I'm just normal person trying to live its life. But if you have a Tao master, they can show you the flavors. They can give you a tiny little seed. And you can then decide on a subconscious level. It's never a decision from the head. It's always a decision of the heart. If you want to grow the seed or not. You know,
Katya, as I said, if you, at least in this reading group, if you make those claims, you need some textual evidence. So you need to say, okay, like what this is in this, Laozi said in this passage, in this line, and translating as this, that support what I've said. Like you know that that's it's basic in reading group. I'm sorry, but you know.
No, that's okay. Just let's carry it just on. Sorry.
No problem, but really inspiring for us, because we three are kind of in the dark for this kind of passage, because we don't have the experience. But anyway, if you introduce your experience of us, because here the text is so close as what you said, right? You can just relate to the text and then explain that to us. That would be then perfect, right?
But I think it's helpful to have things rephrased and put into different.
Oh, okay, that's great. Yeah. Or at least sometimes.
Right. Yeah, but I mean,
it was triggered by the text. Otherwise, I wouldn't have got the idea to talk about it.
Yeah.
So it is somehow related to the text, but I can't. You know, sometimes it just, Tao is not linear. I'm sorry. Just proved it without wanting to. Sorry.
Great.
But Tao has also a weird sense of humor sometimes.
And shall we do another passage or just stop here?
I think I'm a little dowed out.
Sorry.
No, it's not your fault. It's the Dow's fault.
So
I
then,
You kind of wanted to make a few comments about this passage, if that's
Yeah.
okay. That it feels like there's something new with the fourth passage though, that we didn't get from the previous passages, and that's like a certain sort of historical consciousness, because it feels like all the other previous passages talks about the Tao in more eternal terms. So like what was Katya was saying, like it's like not linear, or it's like it exists everywhere. But here it seems to be explicitly talking about this past and present. That reminded me a bit about the sort of like understanding of history that Walter Benjamin has, where he it's like it's a sort of like dialectical understanding of history where the past is not something fixed, but it's like history for him is like a flash into the present. So it's like the knowledge of the past as it is relevant for the perceiver in the present. And I feel like that's something similar here is going on, where you understand the Tao of ancient times, not in the sense that you grasp it like historical facts, but it's like a certain sort of like flash of understanding that allows you to understand today. I'm not sure if that makes much sense, but
Yes, it does.
I
To
feel
me?
like well, thank you. But I don't know if it makes much sense to me. Anyways, but it seems like
go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna sort of repeat. Yeah, you go ahead.
I think it's a very good point, because the most famous historian in the Han Dynasty, and our knowledge about Laozi and Kongzi somewhere basically comes from him. And he gives like he said something like this: the Taoists were most probably historians, and the Confucians were most probably the priests, how to say priests, I think, right? The people for the religions. So that's basically their differences of their like classes. And here the historian in that time is also different. So basically it's how to say that, it's the word if you are if you are a historian, and then you are a official, government official, and then usually you will give that position to your son. So that's at that time basically like this. And it also said that Laozi himself was in fact a historian and the keeper of the state library of Zhou dynasty. So basically, they say the Taoists have the highest historical wisdom, kind of like this direction, and they also have this heritage, and most of the time what they are doing is read the past. And I've also found a very interesting passage here, but I think that's my first point to you. So what you said makes sense. Here we can find out the Laozi talking about the history, about historical consciousness, or flash, you said. And the second one is the translation. These three defy close inquiry. And I found this a very good translation to the word 智解, is inquiry. And because historia in Greek means inquiry, right? So it's not something fast, something happened and settled down in the history, but you just inquire into those stuff, say in the past. That's the history. So here, but this is only a coincidence. So here also the word historia in Greek sense is there in this passage.
Mm.
Yeah, that's my response to what you said, but I think it's a good one.
Mm. I mean, it's very surprising to hear that the Taoists were supposedly part of the historian class. I guess just because, I mean, like Aiden is mentioning this, this feels like sort of the first time we're getting a historical perspective, whereas like in Mengzi, we're hearing all the time about the ancient sages and how they lived, and about the golden era and everything like this. So it's, I don't know, maybe they just had too much of history and they had to make a philosophy that was not as focused on it. But I'm curious if we're going to get more of it. Because it would, yeah, it'd be super interesting to see how they differ in their historical perspective.
But maybe you can also see that Laozi kind of like more like Hegel, right? Uh, want to find out this graph line or something, some regularity in the history or this long term, something like also a little bit dialectic, and also their view on human history also a little bit more descriptive than the normative claim of the Confucians, right?
Mm.
And that's also some of their class, like priests, always maybe just you should do this, you should do that.
Yeah. That actually makes me think my earlier surprise was kind of silly, because it's like if you're a good historian, then you just have this sort of like you're saying, this general sense of the direction of things, and you're not like doing this kind of like nostalgia for the past, like you see in Mengzi and stuff like this. Like that's cheap history or something like that.
Yeah.
Super interesting. Aiden, did you have other observations that you were?
Yeah, just one more about the second passage where like these three defy close inquiry and are therefore lumped together as one. Feels kind of ambivalent or ambiguous a little bit. Like it feels like it might imply that these three things might not actually be the one. Like the commentary and the rest of the text doesn't support this reading, but when I first read up to that part, I was like, so are these three, like where does it come about that these three can unambiguously be considered the Tao? Because it feels like all it's saying is that the intangible, the unlistenable or whatever are all cannot be inquired, and therefore they are one thing. Like the argument doesn't seem to quite work.
I know what you mean. So I think you're just saying we know the first three passages are one unit, right? Kind of, right? And like a conventional interpretation would say this passage is about a property of a Tao, right? And now you're saying no. How can we know that, right?
Or at least like the second passage seems to be an argument for that, like saying that these three things, because they defy close inquiry, they are therefore one thing. But I don't really understand how the argument works.
Okay. And let's see. Any response to that? I would say if my understanding is like this, so Dao is one, but we human try to approach it and say through different aspects, maybe here three aspects, which is sight, hearing, and touch. So how what is Tao or what is the one? it's just because then it's a negative definition, right? Kind of a negative. So this one is if you want to go through these three aspects, you will find them invisible, untouchable, unhearable. How to say that?
Inaudible.
Inaudible, yeah, inaudible. And so if they are like inaudible, invisible, and untouchable, how can you inquire it? No, you cannot. So therefore, I just call them the one or the other one. That is the one. Does that make sense?
So are you suggesting that, out of all these like negations, that
Uh,
you are postulating that they are therefore a unity? So it's like out of like different sort of negations, Laozi is saying, actually all of these things are just one thing.
I think so. That's the first way. I think, well, basically what Laozi here is doing is like, because he said Dao is not definable, you cannot define it. And here he kind of like to give it some, I don't know, some boundary, say boundary. Those are not Dao, right? And then he used three aspects for this purpose of negation, which does not mean Laozi mix three stuff into one, but he just say these three aspects does not really work. Does that make sense what I've said? I don't know. So I think if not, that's not because I didn't, not only because I didn't explain it well, but also didn't think it clearly enough. Okay, I think I should stop.
I think it was somewhat helpful, but I also need to think it clearly.
But in the Timaeus, that's the craftsman just mix the being the same and the different violently together into one. So, but does not help at all for understanding. Any other comments? Okay, good discussion today. Thanks everyone, and we'll meet in 1 week
Sounds good.
from
Yeah.
15.
Thanks to you all.
Yeah.
Thanks. See you.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
See you guys. See you tomorrow.